Shalom Aleichem, Mishnah Yomi for Zion Sivan here in Chutz La'aretz. It's the second day of Shavuot. We are in chapter 2 of Gittin, Mishnah Hey. Hakol Kesherin, everybody is fit, lichtov et haget, to write a get. Afilu, even, cheresh shote v'kotan. Now, cheresh is somebody who is deaf and mute. They cannot communicate properly. A shote is somebody who's not mentally competent. A kotan is a minor under bar mitzvah. Now, the Gemara explains, and the Barton Nura in the commentary says here, that this is only when there's an adult who's telling them, an adult of sound mind and legal ability to write a get, is telling them to write it lishma, and they're only allowed to write the tofes, the standard language that's in every old get. But the toref, the specific language, they could not. The Mishnah goes on, Ha'isha kotevet et gita. A woman could, if she wanted, write her own get. Now, she would have to give it to her husband with a proper kinyan, a proper transfer of ownership, before he could then give it back to her to effect the divorce. Ve'ish kotev et shovro, and the man could write his receipt. Now, this is the receipt for payment of ketuvah after the divorce. Typically, the wife writes it or hires someone to write an official receipt and then gives it to the husband when she's paid the ketuvah payment. Now, by the get, it has to be the husband asked the wife to go ahead and write it. Maybe he was not able to write, but she could. And so it was with his acquiescence and approval that it was written. And the Mishnah explains why that works. She'en kiyum haget ele bechotmav. The legal effectiveness of the get is through the witnesses signing it. It's not that the writing of the get, the words written on the paper, affect the divorce. It's the signature of the witnesses. Now, this could refer to the witnesses signing, or to the other opinion we saw in chapter 1, the Eidei Mesira, the witnesses to the giving, that actually affects the legal validity of this document. Now, the Mishnah goes way back to the first topic in this Masechta, Hol Kesherin Lahaviyet a get. Anyone's kosher to be the messenger, the agent, to bring in the get. Chutz mecheresh, but not a deaf mute. Shota, someone who's not mentally competent. V'kotan, v'suma, and also a blind person, v'nochri, and a person who's not Jewish. Now, we're talking about a messenger coming in from Chutz La'aretz, from outside Eretz Yisrael, and they have to say, as we said in the very first Mishnah, b'fanei nichta, b'fanei nechtav. Now, a cheresh cannot communicate that. A shota is not necessarily of sound mind to communicate that, or to be believed to say that. A kotan also is not considered to have the full level of adult dat. A suma, being blind, cannot say b'fanei nichta, b'fanei nechtam, because he did not see it. And a nochri, a person who's not Jewish, is just not in the sugya, not in the parsha, not relevant to the laws of Gittin, so he's not trusted as an agent to bring the get from overseas. This reminds me of another famous Shavuot Vartz. Rabbi Yossi says, if not for that day, the day of Matan Torah, the day of Shavuot, Kama Yossi Eka B'Shuka. There's all sorts of Joe Schmoes sitting around in the street. He's saying, I'm a Yossi, they're a Yossi. The difference is, I'm part of Am Yisrael that accepted Torah and is engaged in the Torah every single day. Otherwise, I'd just be sitting around with nothing to do, like everyone else who didn't accept the Torah. So here too, this Nochri, this non-Jew, maybe he was there when they wrote the get, and maybe they hired him to be the messenger, but he has not accepted the laws of the Torah. He has no validity as an agent to execute the laws of the Torah, simply because he's just a regular Joe Schmo. He's not a Rabbi Yossi. Let's go on to Mishnah Vav. Kibil Hakatan, someone who was a minor, was underage, accepted the get to be the delivery boy, the higdil, and then he grew up on the way to Israel. Or cheresh, he was a cheresh at the time, not able to communicate, v'nit pakach, and he opened up, he was now able to speak. It was suma, he was blind at the time, v'nit patoch, and his eyes were open, he could see again. Shota, he was not mentally competent at the time, v'nish topa, and he became cured, he became of sound mind. Nochri, he was not Jewish, v'nit gayer, and he became Jewish. Puzzle. He's still not a valid messenger in any of these cases. The messenger must be kosher, must be fit to be the messenger at the time they receive the get from the husband. Aval, but what if the situation is pikeach, a normal person, when it's charish? Unfortunately, there was some sort of, God forbid, neurological injury. He became unable to speak. The chazar, v'nitz pakach, and he became cured of that. Or patuach, he could see normally. V'nitz stama, he was temporarily blinded. Chazar v'nit patach, and he became able to see again. A shafui is a normal sane person. V'nishtata, became temporarily insane. V'chazar nishtapa, and then he became cured of this. Kosher. In these situations, at the time of making them the messenger, they were kosher, and at the time of delivering the get and saying b'fanei nechta, b'fanei nechtam, they are kosher, they just had a problem in the middle. Of course, in these cases, we'd have to have a way of validating that this is the exact same get that they got. They didn't put it down anywhere or misplace it in the meantime. So we do have a separate way of validating that. We'll see later. The Mishnah summarizes, Zeh klal, this is the general rule, kol she'tchilato v'sofa bedat, kosher. Anytime the messenger originally and at the end was fully fit to be the messenger, his delivery of the get and his statement that the get is kosher is believed. And the Bartenura points out that this statement of dat, it's a mental competence issue. This would say that the messenger who was able to see the get process and the signing and then became blind, he's still a valid messenger. It's not totally in his dat. He can already say b'fanei nichta, b'fanei nechtam, even though he later became blind, he's still a good messenger.